All right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called Sudden Death, 1998. This is going to be another Karate Man recommendation. Giving it 5 out of 5 stars. I love this Jean-Claude Van Damme. Die-hard ripoff in a hockey stadium. The ending is awesome. The build-up is a little slow, though. But there are tons of explosions. Lots of cool fight scenes. Jean-Claude Van Damme mumbling his lines, for instance. You lose, pal. I think that's what he said. You lose, pal. Van Damme, action goes into overdrive. Sudden death. Pretty cool looking poster. That one and what was the other one? Van Damme has cool looking movie posters. The Muscles from Brussels. Sudden Death is a 1995 U.S. action thriller film directed by Peter Hyams. And starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Powers Boothe, the Republican Country Club dude, Raymond J. Barry, and Dorian Harewood. The film pits a lone fire marshal against extortionists who hold unsuspecting NHL players and fans for ransom during Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. The Penguins versus the, I don't remember. And the extortionists set payment milestones to coincide with the game's progress. For instance, a certain millions of dollars has to be released by the first quarter, or the first period, or whatever it's called in hockey. I've never been a hockey fan. I've never collected hockey cards. It was Hyams' second directorial collaboration with Van Damme after Time Cop, 1994, and Enemies Closer, 2013. Speaking of Time Cop, that one is 513 on my list. We're talking 4 years from now, I guess. Sudden Death was released in the U.S. by Universal Pictures on December 22nd, 1995, to mixed reviews, albeit better than most of Van Damme's earlier efforts. Nobody likes Van Damme's Lee Majors School of Acting. It was a minor success, grossing $64 million at the box office on an announced budget of $35 million. The film became a popular staple for cable TV and in video rentals and sales. However, it fell short of Time Cop's performance, especially domestically. Production company Shattered Productions distributed by Universal Pictures. Release date December 22nd, 1995. Running time 110 minutes. Country U.S. language English. Budget $35 million and a box office of $64 $0.4 million. And oh, did I mention this has police corruption? Darren McCord is a French Canadian born firefighter for the Pittsburgh Bureau of Fire, now serving as fire marshal for the Pittsburgh Civic Arena after being unable to save a young girl from a house fire 2 years prior. I guess it had put a psychological scar on his brain. That poor little girl who got burned in the fire. During the 1995 Stanley Cup Finals between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Chicago Blackhawks. There you go. I couldn't remember the opposing team. A fictional rematch of the 1992 Stanley Cup Finals. A group of terrorists take the Vice President of the United States and several other VIPs hostage in a luxury suite. Secret Service operative Joshua Foss has the arena wired with explosives. And he plans to blow up the arena at the end of the game while having hundreds of millions of dollars wired into several offshore accounts. Darren takes his son Tyler and daughter Emily to Game 7 to the Stanley Cup Finals as a birthday gift for Tyler. Jean-Claude Van Damme had to weasel his way out of that one. He had to switch timeshare days with the mother. I can't tell you how many times I've done that with my son's mother. A spat between brother and sister causes Emily to run off before being kidnapped by Carla, the sole female member of the terrorists, who was disguised as the local mascot Iceberg after killing the original performer. Carla places Emily in the suite with the other hostages about to be executed, not wanting his son to go missing. Darren orders Tyler to stay in his seat while he goes searching for Emily. Too bad he didn't tell that to Emily. Carla is about to kill Darren, but he evades her attacks in a fight and he kills her. Afterwards, Darren asks for a security guard's help, but this guard is another terrorist in disguise, and the guard reveals their criminal operation before being killed by Darren. Now aware of the situation, Darren finds a mobile phone in the executive offices. Darren uses it to connect Secret Service agent Matthew Hallmark. Hallmark advises Darren to stand by while the agents take charge. He angrily refuses, saying that he will handle this himself. It's already starting to feel like Die Hard. The Secret Service and the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police team up to surround the arena, and a standoff ensues. Meanwhile, Darren manages to find and disarm a few of the bombs, as well as killing and evading a few of Foss's men, while Foss himself kills several hostages after the end of the first and second periods. Hallmark finally makes his way inside. Hallmark meets Darren, who explains where the rest of the bombs are most likely located. Hallmark is revealed to be in league with Foss. Hallmark tries to kidnap Tyler, but Hallmark fails. Hallmark then reveals his true self to Darren, who sets him on fire and ultimately kills him. Cool little plot twist there. Darren then uses Hallmark's phone to contact Voss, who taunts that he's holding his daughter captive. As time ticks down, Darren disables more bombs, But Darren is severely slowed by confrontations with Foss's men. At one point, Darren, dressed as the Pittsburgh goalie to escape the thugs, enters the game, and he successfully defends a shot on goal. This movie's starting to get wacky here. After having the slow build-up, watching guys skate around an ice rink, all of a sudden you see Jean-Claude Van Damme playing the goalie. As the third period runs down, Luc Robitaille scores the game-tying goal for Pittsburgh in the last second. This movie is starting to get more and more ridiculous, but in a good way. The game-tying goal for Pittsburgh prompts sudden death overtime and prolongs the game, deciding that there's no time left to find the remaining bombs. Darren climbs to the roof of the arena. Where did what's his name? Where did Bruce Willis always go? To the top of the skyscraper, right? So naturally, Jean-Claude Van Damme has to go up to the top of the ice rink, I guess you could call it, and then he starts swinging around like Tarzan on the roof of the hockey arena. It starts to get really wacky. He fights off two of Foss's henchmen. One of them falls into the score display, blowing it up. That's a great scene. As the arena erupts into chaos, it's like shouting fire in a crowded theater. Darren advances upon the owner's box from above. Darren forces his way in, rescuing Emily, the vice president, and the remaining hostages. Darren and Emily reunite with Tyler, and they set out to leave the arena. But it doesn't stop there. Foss manages to escape. Foss blends in with the panicking crowd with some kind of mustache wig costume. He sets off one of the bombs, flooding part of the arena. So you mean to tell me that Jean-Claude Van Damme disabled 19 bombs just by guessing where they might be? Foss recaptures Emily when she recognizes him because she put a little animal stamp on his hand. They head towards the top of the arena where a helicopter is waiting to lift Foss away. Darren intervenes. Darren saves his daughter before Foss could shoot her. As Foss attempts to flee, Darren shoots the pilot, causing the chopper to stall and fall in the arena, sending Foss to his death as the chopper explodes on impact with the ice. Another great scene. Penguin staff includes Ed Ivanko as team owner Baldwin and Bernard Canapari as equipment manager Jefferson. Arena personnel include Bill Danzell as head of security, George Spada, Steve Aronson as scoreboard operator, Dooley and Jennifer D. Bowser as mascot entertainer Joan Cornetti. Additional law enforcement personnel include Brian Delat as Secret Service agent Thomas Blair, and Milton E. Thompson as Pittsburgh Police Dispatch Sergeant Kurtz. Other members of Foss's gang include Joffrey Brown as Wooten, Jeff Haberstan as Lewis, John Hadley as Briggs, Fred Mancuso as Billy Pratt, Brad Monitz as Tui, Manny Perry as Brody, Thomas Sacchio as his helicopter pilot, Fred Waugh as Bluto, and Dean E. Wells as Cloner. A lot of hockey figures in here. None that are recognizable to me. The film's pitch came from Karen Baldwin, the spouse of Penguins owner Howard Baldwin, who also served as one of the film's producers. It was inspired by the unique architecture of Pittsburgh's Civic Arena and its retractable roof, which she thought would make a spectacular setting for an action film. And she was right. One plot point, the goalie disguise, was taken from an earlier unproduced story by the Baldwins, where the hero used a ruse to deflect from the USSR writer Gene Quintano was from the USSR. Writer Gene Quintano was commissioned to turn the pair's ideas into a full-fledged screenplay, initially under the title Arena. Further elements, such as McCord's flight with the Penguins mascot and the use of sign language, were absent from early drafts and added at the suggestion of director Peter Hyams after he joined the project. Luke Robitaille had attended acting classes with Karen Baldwin while playing for the Los Angeles Kings, and he was chosen as Tyler's favorite player based on that experience. It was the first film made by Howard Baldwin for Universal, with whom he signed a 2-year development deal. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, and Bruce Willis were considered for the role of Darren McCord, but all three turned the role down before Jean-Claude Van Damme got the part. Schwarzenegger turned down the role because he had already filmed True Lies, 1994, and Junior back-to-back. Stallone turned the role down because he didn't like the quality of the script. Willis turned the part down because he was already working on Die Hard with a Vengeance, 1995. James Woods was originally considered for the role of Joshua Foss, but he turned it down. He turned down the part because he didn't like the direction of the character. That same year the film was released, Woods acted alongside Boothe in Nixon, 1995, which I have not seen. Principal photography happened in the Pittsburgh area, where the film is set in 98 days between August 29th and December 7th, 1994. The majority of the shoot took place in and around Civic Arena. Another notable location was the then unopened and now closed Veterans Hospital in nearby Aspinwall. Baldwin wanted to use footage from the October 1st NHL season opener between the Penguins and the Chicago Blackhawks, but it was delayed due to the 1994 to 1995 lockout. In its place, he arranged an exhibition game between the Penguins and their IHL affiliate, the Cleveland Lumberjacks, but it did not display the correct intensity. So another game was staged, this time involving players from the Johnstown Chiefs, now the Greenville Swamp Rabbits, and Wheeling Thunderbirds, now Nailers, the Penguins' real-life ECHL affiliate of the East Coast Hockey League. These were just for general hockey footage. However, more complex scenes were enacted by a group of former players assembled for the film. and kept on call for the entire duration of the shoot. To populate the arena, production used a combination of invited Penguins fans and paid extras, typically 2,000 to 3,000, but up to 10,000 in some scenes, and complemented them with cardboard cutouts, a common technique before CGI enhancing became the norm. The final helicopter crash was filmed with a 400-foot crane that could pick up and lower the helicopter into the arena. 9 cameras recorded the event, which was filmed several times, and hundreds of emergency vehicles were on standby in case of an accident. All of the hundreds of emergency vehicles utilized during this filming were actually ambulances and fire apparatus from the neighboring communities of Pittsburgh. As such ambulance and many of the fire units were officially licensed through the Pennsylvania Department of Health, and each was fully staffed with a complete crew of both emergency medical technicians as well as paramedics, respectively. Sudden Death opened in the U.S. on December 22nd, 1995. Its relatively modest 1,681 screen release, reflecting a crowded Christmas marketplace. It ended the weekend in 8th place, making $4,782,445 for a poor $2,845 per screen average. Its final domestic tally was $20,350,171. Internationally, the film fared better, bringing its worldwide gross to $64.4 million, equivalent to $126 million in 2023 when adjusted for inflation. The film made its domestic home video debut on a 1996 VHS published by MCA Universal Home Video, with the DVD arriving the following year under the newly renamed Universal Home Video label. Universal reissued the film on standard Blu-ray in 2013 and a 4K UHD Blu-ray released August 27, 2024 from Kino Lorber, struck from a brand new remaster. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of a mediocre 51% on 37 reviews, with an average rating of another mediocre 5.2 out of 10. The website's consensus states Sudden Death may not be classic, but exciting set pieces and strong work from Jean-Claude Van Damme helped this action thriller pay off part of its die-hard debt. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of a B+ on an A+ to F scale. Sudden Death was widely praised for its action and spectacle. Mike LaSalle of the San Francisco Chronicle hailed it as one of the best action thrillers of 1995, and the film Jean-Claude Van Damme has been building up to for 10 years, making his arrival as a top-flight action star. Kevin Thomas of the Los Angeles Times called it as a treat for Jean-Claude Van Damme fans, a superior action thriller loaded with jaw-dropping stunts and special effects, and strong in production values. However, the film received criticism for its extravagant narrative contrivances and excessive violence. Chris Hicks of the Deseret News conceded that Hyams knows how to keep the action popping and there are some dramatic, intense scenes, but complained that the picture was far too sadistic and that the finale must have been seen to believed, must have been seen to be believed. Yeah, this is a bit of a stretch that all that Tarzan stuff on the ceiling of the ice hockey stadium. Bruce Ferretz of Entertainment Weekly thought the film wanted to be a comical Die Hard knockoff, but criticizes the director for inept editing and a plodding pace. There was a plodding pace in the beginning, but again, it started to pick up, as well as mind-numbing violence. He gave it a D minus grade. Among moderate reviews, TV Guide gave it 2 out of 4 and called it good, clean fun with just the right ratio of explosions to dialogue. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave the film 2.5 stars out of 4. Roger Ebert stated that sudden death isn't about common sense. It's about the manipulation of action and special effects sequences to create a thriller effect, and that's at its pretty good. And at that, it's pretty good, I should say. Collider and Movie Phone both mention sudden death in their chronological list of the greatest action films of the 1990s. Entertainment Lie listed sudden death at 76 on their 2019 list of greatest action films of all time, and a list of action films that did something better than Die Hard. Screen Rant praised Sudden Death's superior set pieces. The novelization of the film was written by U.S. novelist Stephen Mertz and published by Boulevard Books. An audiobook version was provided, which is read by the film's co-star, Powers Boothe. Sudden Death's score was composed and produced by John Debney. A selection of Debney's tracks was released on CD by film music label Varis Sarabandi shortly before the film's release date, and it has now become available in digital format in 2024. Varis Sarabandi re-released the soundtrack. This time included the whole scoring session remastered from the original archives. Sudden Death was the first in the informal series of hockey-themed theatrical and television films produced by the Baldwins, which includes Mystery Alaska, Mr. Hockey, The Gordie House Story, Odd Man Rush, and its less hockey-centric sequel Discussion Materials, as well as the proposed Harlem Saints. Peter Hyams has maintained an association with producer Mosh Diamond for over the years. But Peter Hyams did not want to collaborate with Van Damme again until serving as cinematographer on 2 Universal Soldier sequels, Regeneration 2009 and Day of Reckoning 2012. 2 pretty decent movies, which were directed by his son John. Sudden Death scribe Gene Quintano contributed extensive rewrites to the former. The elder Hyams returned to the director's chair for the 3rd Van Damme vehicle, Enemies Closer, in 2013. While these movies did not enjoy the wide releases given to Time Cop and Sudden Death, they were well received among a circle of critics. Their sparse and downbeat atmosphere prompting discussions about authorism in the largely commercial medium of direct-to-video action films. The 2018 British film Final Score is widely considered to have been influenced by sudden death. In it, the hero, played by Dave Bautista, battles terrorists against a backdrop of a closely contested soccer game. He must neutralize them before the game's 90 minutes run out, or innocent spectators and his putative goddaughter will die. It was released on September 7, 2018, to a mostly positive reception. A remake titled Welcome to Sudden Death was in production from both Universal in 1940 and Netflix. The film stars Michael J. White and Gary Owen. In a more comedic take on the material, it was released on September 29, 2020, to mostly negative reviews. All right. Sorry, I'm starting to doze off here. I went to Firestone. They didn't even give me a dang invoice. So I went to Jiffy Lube to get a synthetic oil change. It took them 3 hours because the oil filter malfunctioned.